down and pick up
Okay.
the mic. Okay, stop doing less implants.
Well, I'm just sketching I'm trying to get my hands ready and more experienced, designing and blueprinting first before creating using 3D printers in my classroom. So I've been trying to get my kids started on design challenges where they create iPad stands for teachers in the building. Before having the kids do that, I need to get used to blueprinting myself. But enough boring shit. How's it going, guys?
Pretty good. We are trying a new thing for this episode, which may or may not work
Our
out.
ugly faces are going to be
recorded
for some reason.
Whether at the end of this podcast you will end up on YouTube actually seeing our ugly faces is entirely different. But so much so that I'm not wearing I'm wearing a button up and a hat now.
You classed up just for us and the viewers.
He saw the camera, he just classed it up.
Yeah.
You got the collar shirt.
And just to make it even more awkward, one of you smells fantastic. I don't know which one of you it is.
It's probably me. It's probably
you, dude. I clean up sometimes.
I know that. We did travel, so I know.
I think it might be Rich. I don't know. It's
I didn't have time this morning.
But that's not.
I cleaned up a little bit at home. So.
Noir. That's my shit.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh snap! I learned something new.
But none of that is why we're here today.
Gotta step on my game. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. We are talking about Bandersnatch.
Bandersnatch.
The name Bandersnatch. Where does that come from?
I have no idea. That's the one thing I didn't Google before we came on. I feel like we should have done that. We should, as always, we should have prepared better.
From the mind of the twisted Black Mirror creator.
Yeah. So before we even get started, while he's looking up whether Bandersnatch means anything, we should explain. Well, number one, if you haven't seen it by now, I know there's a lot that you could get through, which is why we didn't do this right away. Also, this is the first episode of the new quote-unquote monthly schedule that I'm on. I'm no longer doing the podcast necessarily once a week. It just got to be too much. But also, some of it was for the purposes of stuff like we're doing tonight. We're like trying to do maybe possibly a video and just give me more time.
Testing. We're exploring.
Yes, we're exploring.
We're a bunch of explorers. We're 2019.
We're exploring different options.
Something I did not do with this episode.
Yes.
I've seen it only twice. I don't know how many times you've seen this episode. Trying to play around and fiddle with the different.
I went through all of them. I spent
How many are there?
There's less than you think.
I got about like two different endings.
That's it.
What is that? Should I pause? I'm gonna pause.
Stop it. Oh, that's the same as pause.
Yeah.
Wait. What? Hold on.
Alright, bitch, get your ass over here.
Yeah, come back. I've started recording again. It's like, that's going to be such an interesting, if like we have to keep doing that, this is going to be a really interesting edit, like even if the video doesn't go up, the audio is going to be really interesting. But Bandersnatch, so, there's, I want to say at least 5 endings. No, well...
No, there's more than that.
There's more, but my argument, before we get into that, though, like, my argument, before I get into my whole thing with the episode, we should explain the basic premise, I guess.
Yeah.
Rich, do you want to do that?
Sure. I mean, basic premise is basically Netflix testing something new in the light of choose your own adventure books, and I think they had already done this with children's shows on Netflix, I think they had done something
What,
with
like Dora the Explorer? Or-
No, I had read something that they had already done this with a couple of kids shows, and it fared very well with like kids audience. There was one for the game, the block game.
Lego?
No, the other one.
Duplo?
Huh?
Duplo?
It'll come back.
Minecraft?
Minecraft.
Okay.
There you go, yeah. It was like a Minecraft movie or something. It was interactive. So then they developed it with Charlie Brooker for Black Mirror with Netflix. And basically, you have it's an episode where you
Set in what, the 80s?
yes.
Set in the 80s?
Yeah,
okay.
set in like mid 80s, and so you have a lot of 80s references and like music and movies and the posters throughout, Easter eggs throughout that are all 80s based, and you have your main protagonist Stefan, and the episode's set in somewhere in England, and so you see it all from his I guess, well, yeah, his perspective. He's a programmer, and he wakes up. He starts his day, and you start seeing he has to make different decisions throughout. And
Or he thinks he's making different decisions
Well,
throughout.
right.
Which is what he is struggling with. So the entire premise of the show stems from the fact that this author that he loved reading and a book that his mother read to him,
Yeah.
the author went crazy thinking that he had no control over his life, and what repeats throughout that author's life towards his end, and now Stefan is the option tree that you
So
see in
basically,
RPGs.
what you need going into this is that the main character is a computer video game programmer. He is programming a game based on a Choose Your Own Adventure book that his mother used to read to them. He goes in to pitch this to a video game company, and he begins to develop the video game. And while he is doing that, you as a viewer are given also, through the course of the story, are able to interact and make choices, and the story changes based on the choices that you as a viewer make. That's basically like I was like, that's the basic premise. You guys are jumping ahead a little bit. I was like, the really basic premise is that, and then we can kind of.
well, I was heading there.
Yeah, yeah.
And what's neat about it is just the attention to detail on a lot of things. Like a lot of the things that happen throughout is a lot based on some of the decisions you make in the beginning and throughout, and then just little details like the very first scene where you help your character decide what kind of cereal he'll choose, whether it's going to be Sugar Puffs or the Frosted Flake, and then you'll see references later on where he's going to see the video cassette that the guy leaves for him, and then there's an ad for the cereal that you selected for him at the very beginning of the episode. So I thought that was pretty neat. And there's like sprinkled throughout, there's lots of little details like that. You can tell that it definitely took a lot of time to develop. I read somewhere it took the equivalent of 4 Black Mirror episodes.
Yeah, and if you run through, like I did, basically all of the options and all of the endings, it is about, like if you're going to actually sit down and try and do this, which, by the way, I don't necessarily recommend you sit and try and do it all in one sitting.
No.
Especially because you'll find yourself with some of the options that either don't go anywhere or like only go to a certain place. You're going to find yourself watching the same scenes over and over again. And we'll get to how that kind of, I'm not going to talk about that at the moment. But I will say that the total amount, if you're going to run through everything, is about 3 or 4 hours. So it's about it's approximately 3 or 4 episodes of Black Mirror. If you go through I don't know if like time wise, completely, especially if you do what I did, which is you skip over the stuff that you've been watching over and over again.
That's cheating.
Yeah, I mean, I think just trying to get all the it ruins it. You know,
I will
explain.
I will explain why I did that. And to Eve's point, I will say that I don't recommend doing that because it does. I really don't recommend doing it all in one sitting because it really does kind of ruin the experience a little bit. If you're a completist, kind of like me, and you want to. Well, I'm not, but I don't know why I'm expressing this on it.
I mean,
would you, Richard?
Would you like a beverage?
Oh, yes, senor.
I already have a beverage, as we might have noticed.
I mean, because the first time it came, I saw that on a Saturday with Alana, and I thought it was like a great experience. It was an event.
Yeah.
You know, where we just we debated, what options that we're going to be making. We picked turns. We asked each other as quickly as possible, does this make sense for this character? It was a fun event going.
I would say also to Eve's point, I watched it all by myself. I would also say that the watching it with someone else is probably a very, very different experience than watching it by yourself. You're liable, like you said, to discuss the choices you make. The choices you make are going to be different. Also, you are less likely, maybe, to try and run through all of the choices. Like, because I ran through one of the storylines all the way through. Actually, I think the first one I did went to a dead end, sort of went to a dead end. And then I did one that I went all the way till the end of the episode, and I was like, okay, that was a very satisfying experience. And then I just kept going, which wouldn't necessarily recommend that.
Yeah, I went through a number of endings in the first viewing where I followed Colin, for example. I followed Colin and went through the whole LSD thing, and then had him jump off the ledge, and then continued, and then made a couple of choices where I ended up choosing the PAC on the computer, and then I got to the weird ending where he's like. It's like he's
fighting the therapist.
He's fighting.
I love that part. I did not see that.
I did not see that coming at all.
Out of nowhere, I was like, "Fuck! You want action? You want action?"
I think that was the first one I ran through. That was the first story I ran through all the way through, and that one just made me laugh.
Yeah, I love that.
I got to that on the first try.
Yeah, and the LSD trip, I love that too. Just seeing how crazy I think his mentor was going.
Yes.
I was just like.
But it's interesting. Well, at least for me, I kept making choices that got me further into the rabbit hole, and then on the second viewing, I made all of the opposite choices.
That's what I did. The third time.
I realized how easily you can hit a dead end.
Yeah.
And then you're just like.
It's not much of a choice.
No, it's not. It's the illusion of choice.
Yeah.
Because if you pick, the alternate choice, more often than not, it'll just tell you, all right, well, your character either died or is in jail or
try again.
Or try again. So and in the second viewing, I went through a number of different combinations to get to different possible endings. Thought I had seen at least maybe most of them. And then, I was watching a recap on YouTube of all the endings, and then people were making mention of a couple of endings that I had not seen yet.
Yeah, I will say that. So I would argue that there are, and I'm probably getting the number wrong just because I don't have the things in front of me necessarily. I would argue that there's 4 or 5
Wait, I have the breakdown.
Yeah, I would say that there are 4 or 5, possibly, I would even argue that there's only 4, maybe even less, actual endings. Within those 3 endings, though, there are at least, for a couple of them, especially the ones where he ends up in jail, where there's at least 5 or 6 variations on those endings. They all end with him in jail, but there are variations on some of the details of how he ends up in jail, who he ends up killing.
Yeah.
Again, I think I said before we started, if you haven't watched it, there's going to be a lot of spoilers in this.
Well, this is all about spoilers.
Yeah, and also partially why I waited so long for us to do this episode.
Yeah.
The endings that really, my first run through, we had the kid choose to keep his buddy, and then he just goes, I think, crazy in the end. I'm not sure if he.
Got the flowchart in front of me.
The second playthrough was my more satisfying ending, was where I decided that he goes with his mother because he was not going to be happy towards the end. So he goes in a train with his mother and commits suicide. I felt guilty about that. Then it dawned on me that it's the best possible. It's the most merciful.
That is like the quote. I would argue that one was the most interesting and the most emotionally affecting for me. I will say also that as far as like good, quote-unquote, positive endings, I would say that and the one that ends that he's like on a movie set are the 2.
Oh shit, I didn't see that one.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
I did not see that one.
To me,
that's how the action one ends.
No,
it isn't. It's
no.
only one of the ones where the
because when he's seeing the therapist at the end. Hold on.
Sorry, Eve. We're gonna spoil it.
No, that's fine. That's
that you
fine.
haven't seen. So one of the options, if you choose to fight her, they end with him getting taken out. If you choose to jump out the window, it ends on a movie set, and they go, jumping out, you're supposed to fight her. And then they give him like their mic, and he's like,
yeah, here we go. Yeah. So toward the end, he gets to the computer, right?
Yeah.
And you get to choose what shows up on the screen. So it could be either the weird symbol or the PAX or Netflix.
I love that.
And then you choose Netflix, then you're back. Stefan's back with the therapist, right? And then you choose whether to try to explain or stop the conversation, right?
By the way, if I'm remembering correctly, neither of those choices matter.
They don't.
Narrative-wise.
And then it asks you like, do you want to fight her, the therapist, or leap out the window?
Yeah.
So then, if you fight her, obviously that's the fight scene that I saw the first time on my first viewing. Then, if you choose to leap out the window, he tries to leap out the window and then discovers that the whole thing is a set, and it's a Netflix set.
Okay. That's dope.
And then like the director's there, like the actual director of the episode, and she